It's a radioactive gas that we are always breathing. And it's okay because it is naturally occurring. It is one of our prime elements, one of our prime gases, which means as long as the Earth spins, and since it's always been spinning, it will exist.
Welcome to the next episode of the Unbiased Truth podcast. I am joined today by a superhero. That's right, April, owner of RVA Radon. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
What you got to introduce yourself? Tell us about you. What do you do? Why do you do it?
Oh, I don't think we have enough time for that, but I'm April Leslie, and he said superhero because my logo has a woman, like a silhouette of a cape blowing in the wind to help protect the city of RVA and surrounding areas of radon. So that's what I am. I get out there and I educate about radon. I test for radon. I basically can talk to anyone for any length of time about radon, raise awareness, do classes, whatever it is.
So yesterday I was asked after you left from that inspection why you set the radon monitor up where you set it. And then I promptly looked at both the client and the agent. I said, she told me why. She had lots of good explanations as to why. I don't remember them all because I kind of gloss over when she starts talking about all these nerdy radon stuff.
That's a common response. The gloss over, like I know when it's happening. There's a different, different expression I get, which is why I tell bad jokes because it brings brings back in. So,
but I said there's a reason for it, and they said fair enough.
Okay,
they were okay with that.
Nobody called me.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
And I always welcome a conversation.
That's what I tell people that ask me questions about it. I go,
here's her number.
Yeah. We got a specialist for that.
Yeah, I just tell them that radon's not my thing. Our radon person's super nerdy about radon, and you just call her and she'll answer all your questions.
Compliment.
Yes.
That's why I have glasses.
So how long have you been doing that?
Since late 2016. That's when I kind of really got involved with it. And then 2017, I realized how much people didn't know about it.
Yeah.
And so I started really stepping in it.
Yeah.
And then through the pandemic, I remained active, but I wasn't as proactive as I am now.
Yeah.
And then post-pandemic or like towards the end, because we're kind of like still in the thick of things a little bit on a different level.
Yeah, it depends on who you ask. Depends on if we're in a pandemic or not.
Right, right. But we still have a different awareness of the air we're breathing. And so lifestyles have changed, right? So a lot of people are still working from home. Some people decided, hey, I want to homeschool. Some people's offices have just a different perspective on what safety levels are. And so things picked up immensely because it's just in your breathing space, whether you're at home, whether you're in a basement, whether you're on the first floor, what have you, the atmosphere that you're breathing, there's a bigger awareness since COVID. And so when that took off, the department that I was working in and created was no longer sufficient. We needed to create its own entity and create a larger business to where that was the only focus.
Yeah. So you were working with another home inspector as the radon.
Right.
And now you've since pretty much gone off on your own.
Yes, I went rogue.
Yeah.
It happened.
Yeah,
it
just
happened.
left them. Yeah.
Right. No, I didn't. It was like I said, it was organic. It was that this was doing so well that we were able to be like, okay, this needs 100% attention. Yeah. And, I feel fortunate because I was also in the home inspection field. Like I've been in there. I've been, I've been under the sinks. I've been opening and closing windows. I've been, kind of like around that. So when I walk into a radon related transaction with a real estate issue, I already know what's going on. So I appreciate that setup immensely.
So how have you found, because obviously one of your business techniques is to partner with home inspection companies and to kind of do their radon, right? So, which is different approach than the other traditional radon companies around here, right? Which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm sure working for a home inspection company, you realize how much business you can ascertain from home inspection companies that don't offer radon in-house, but still want to be able to offer that service so they don't lose the client, right?
Right.
So why did you choose to continue to do that versus some of these other more traditional models where you just wait for people to call you and you're just kind of 9 to 5?
Well, because if you aren't a specialist or passionate about radon, you can actually lose clients by not being informed enough. They're going to have a question and they're going to be like, well, we passed the test, but I don't have your answer.
Right.
So, and also there is a cost behind it. There is a calibration cost. There is a continuing education cost. Mm-hmm. There is a, just maintenance on and as far as inventory, so many different things.
Well, and just picking up and dropping off the monitors as a home inspector, right?
Right. So it's an added fluff that may or may not really impact the business as far as a radon department.
Yeah.
What it does do is keep your clients with you when they have multiple things to do. Mm-hmm. And also it can really benefit the home inspector to say, we have a specialist that handles that. That's not really for us. We are the specialist for this entire house. You want a specialist for the air? We have that for you too. Right. And it's all in one area instead of someone just carrying around a couple of radon monitors in the back of their truck. Yeah. That they really shouldn't be stored there anyway. That's another topic. It's fine. And really partnering with home inspectors is kind of what helps pay the bills while I raise awareness in a completely different demographic, which is air breathers in general. Mm-hmm. If you live in a home, if you live on the first 3 levels of a multi-family building, if you work in an office, that's who I'm trying to reach. Yeah. And so it's just a benefit that in the process, I can help with real estate transactions.
Nice. Yeah, there's a inspection company, I think in Minnesota, and they came up with the idea to offer ancillary services to home inspection companies. Now, they spun it off of their business, and they changed the name, Inspector Ancillary Services, whatever. That way, people don't see 2 different home inspection companies because nobody's going to do that, right? I'm not going to contact another home inspector who's going to show up in his truck, and all that other stuff to do radon or any ancillary service. So that's what they've done and continue to try to do is like, hey, we want to help you. We want to offer these services so you're not turning away clients, and it's completely separate. Like there's nothing for our name. There would be nothing that said 360 home inspections on any of these reports for your clients, and I thought that was a great idea. And I would like to do, that got my mind turning to do the kind of the same thing. I got to have people, time, and money to do all that. And that's right. But it just makes me think of what you've been doing for the home inspectors, kind of targeting that. And it's really beneficial, and nothing against the other companies that do radon testing. Right. But they are, real estate is a different animal, So when I get that request at Saturday on 2:00, hey, I want to add radon, and the inspection's on Monday, I need to be able to reach out to somebody, not that I want to get that text on Saturday at 2:00, but, I need to give them an answer if they can do it or not. Right. And these other companies are just Monday through Friday. Office closes at 5. They'll get back to you on Monday, and we can get to you on Thursday,
I mean, when you own a business, it's not just a 9 to 5 or it's kind of more of a way of life. Yeah. And so, those texts and stuff don't have to consume you. Sure. But it keeps you rolling, and it lets people know that you're passionate about something and that it's important to you. Yeah. So.
Yeah, so it's really nice being able to have somebody you can just go out to and it really feels like part of your business, even though it's separate. Again, other companies are great. They're great for backups, when we need it, we get to a pinch or whatnot.
And I refer my competitors.
Sure.
Because if there's something that I can't do, it is so much better to have it done than for it to go untested.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of where my business model is a little bit different as well, is I'm all about collaboration rather than competition, because everybody's always breathing radon all the time. So guess what? That means there's enough for all of us to measure.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And I always view it like I don't really have competitors because I don't really care what they do, like I'm worried about me,
Right.
The only thing I care about, I'll ask, depending on who it is, kind of gauge where they are business wise as far as their volume, to see if it's just me, if we hit like a slowdown, if it's just me or if it's an industry thing, other than that, I don't really care, so, there's a couple inspectors comment on Facebook pages and whatnot, or when I'll see them, I guess I introduce myself to my competition. I'm like, I don't even know you, and it's nothing personal, but I don't view you as competition, it's not because I think I'm better than you. It's just that I'm doing my own thing.
That's good. That's a great perspective.
My competition is, me. What are we doing or not doing enough to succeed? It has nothing to do with how many other home inspectors are in the market, so it's good. And I actually was talking to another home inspector the other day about a very interesting situation we had. I seen some pictures and whatnot, and same pictures I sent you, so I explained to him.
I'm familiar.
And he's like, what's that agent's name? They sound like somebody I want to work with. And he's like, I'm joking. I said, honestly, he says, I told him, I said, the reason why they didn't call us to begin with, they thought we would be booked. And I told the agent, I said, if I'm booked, I've got somebody for you, which was that inspector. I was like, I'm going to refer you. And he's like, well, I really appreciate that. And but why wouldn't I? Because here's an agent that trusts me, they use me. Why would I hesitate to refer somebody I know raises the level of the industry versus somebody taking the chance of them finding somebody who lowers the bar of the industry?
I teach that in networking classes, and that you are only as good as your referral.
Yeah.
Because if you have a bad experience, someone is going to remember, oh my goodness, I found them through April Leslie. Yeah. Or if you have such an incredible experience, then they're going to say, she's awesome. Go to her. She knows her stuff. She's going to point you in the right direction. And that can only benefit you in a positive manner for your whole company.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about Radon then.
Okay.
Yeah. So if I drift off,
I will tell you a joke, and it'll be so bad it will awaken you. It'll awaken something in you, feel like you have to interrupt. So
I guess the first question is, for many people who don't know, what is radon?
Ooh. Well, it's a radioactive gas that we are always breathing. And it's okay because it is naturally occurring. It is one of our prime elements, one of our prime gases, which means as long as the earth spins, and since it's always been spinning, it will exist. So if anyone ever says, we don't have radon, or I don't have radon over here, they might not know exactly what they're talking about, because there's always a level of radon that you're breathing.
Yeah, because like when you go to the Department of Health, and you pull up their map, they don't have an area on their map that's zero. There's, if I remember correctly, there's 3 levels, and it's really just a low risk, medium risk, high risk kind of scale, but there's a risk on each level.
There is, and right? I feel some sort of way about that map.
Sure.
And the reason why is do you have any idea when the last time that was updated?
Oh, probably like the 80s.
Well,
maybe the 90s.
Now you're making it sound even like
2000s.
better. 1994.
So not this century.
So, whereas it's great to just kind of give some general information, it's not exactly accurate. And we need to get on that. And they are going to get on that. The EPA is going to be getting on that.
So what does radon do to you?
Radon is the #1 leading cause of lung cancer worldwide in non-smokers. So it happens the longer you're exposed, the greater your chances are of receiving, lung cancer from radon. And if you were a smoker, and if you are a smoker and you are exposed to elevated levels, then your chances increase even more so for lung cancer.
Yeah. So one of the questions I get asked a lot about radon testing is, do I need radon testing? And there's a lot of misconceptions out there, crawl space versus slab. Well, they have a crawl space, so you don't need to worry about radon. So
I love those kind of questions.
That's right.
I love those comments.
So what's your thoughts? When should you get radon tested? Does it matter what type of foundation it is? Is there a house based off configuration alone, not location, that wouldn't need to be tested because it's not as susceptible to radon as a different type of house?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking.
Yes, I'm going to check out now.
Right,
that's
exactly.
all I have.
There we go. You're not going to like the answer. Nobody likes the answer, because the answer is everybody needs to get tested. But the positive or the flip side to asking me that is that I have a reasoning behind it. So it used to be, and this is kind of, an old wives' tale kind of thing, that you only need to get a radon test if you have a basement. Okay. And if you have a basement, the reason why that they're saying that is because this is a natural gas that comes from the earth. So it's going to come through a soil gas. So you are underneath, where the earth begins. So you're at a closer level to where your greatest exposure is. So absolutely, if you have a basement, get your radon levels checked, right? But in reality, many people who have basements consider their basement as an extracurricular, area. So you're not necessarily, okay, I'm getting the eye. So you're not necessarily, exposed as often to that basement level as you would be if you had a crawl space. If you have a crawl space, at max, you're thinking 6 feet from the earth. Right. And that's like a really generous crawl space, right? Yeah. Because most of us can't stand up in our crawl space. Nope. Exactly. So the first floor living space is where you are exposed the most. And so that radon rises. And so when it comes up from the earth through the crawl space, there's nothing, keeping it from coming right into your first floor. So there is your reasoning for your crawl space. If anyone ever tries to measure your radon inside of your crawl space, you find someone else immediately because that is an inaccurate reading. But once it comes up through your foundation into your breathing space, that's where you want it measured. Yes, you want it measured down below, but quite often, depending on the structure, even if you have the basement, a radon measurement specialist is also going to put a monitor on that first floor so that you can see how it dissipates through the time frame. So what is in your basement, and you might not be spending as much time there, and then what is in that first floor. And so that's less space when you have a crawl space.
Interesting.
As far as a slab is concerned, think about how much closer you are to the earth than even in a crawl space. Right. You are right there at it. And where that foundation can serve as a barrier, it doesn't have to. Right. And you need to know. Yeah. Florida has many, many slab properties. And it is one of the most difficult places to get certified and measuring radon because they are dealing with a lot of radon coming through those slab properties. Yeah. And it's important to know how it works. You don't know the direction radon's going to take. You can put in a slab piece and it's going to divert the radon. Or it can open up other avenues through the soil that will find cracks in anything because settlement just happens as our earth is spinning and moving, and it can come up through another avenue. Right. So. there anything I left out with that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. At least the beginning and the end I caught. I don't know about the middle.
Okay. Also, a better question is not, do I need my radon measured? It is, who's measuring your radon.
Right.
It's a different perspective. And, you can't see it, taste it, feel it, smell it. The only way to know how much is in your breathing space is to measure for it.
So what's the different? So ultimately, it doesn't matter if it's basement, slab, crawl space. Your home can be affected by radon. You should get it tested. Or business, correct. So with that being said, difference between what we'll call the real estate radon testing, right? The short term, 48 hour, 72-hour testing versus a more continuous monitor. What's the pros and cons to those, especially in Virginia, where most of the time we have 4 seasons. This year maybe 2.
Weird, right?
Right. But what's because the weather and things like that can affect the readings and whatnot. So what's your thoughts and takeaways on advice on stuff like that?
My suggestion is to begin with a short-term measurement. You can do that yourself with something from Lowe's or Home Depot or Amazon, with like a charcoal canister that collects, the radon lands on the charcoal, it's sent off, it's evaluated. It is pretty accurate, honestly. And then, it's not great for my business to say that, but it actually is. And I let people know, if that's the only way that you're going to measure, do it. However, there is a much more efficient way. And the reason why is because you're going to get an average from a charcoal canister from an approved lab, but you're not going to know why. Do you have an average of 2.5 picocuries per liter, and the EPA action level is actually 4 picocuries per liter, which is like smoking 8 cigarettes a day? Do you have an average of 2.5 because you had a lot of 2s and a lot of 3s? Or do you have an average of 2.5 because you had 0.5, 0.5, 8, 10, 7, 4, all of those numbers combining, and then you have that average. So you're going to want to know that. Sometimes when an individual calls me and says, hey, I had an elevated reading from a charcoal canister, now I want to get a professional test. I let them know I'm more than happy to help them with a professional test. However, if you have an elevated reading, these are pretty accurate, I would go ahead and move into mitigation and call me afterwards to ensure your mitigation system is working properly. Where that comes in for the long term, if you have a 2.5 and you don't know why, or you do know why because you had a professional test it and can tell you you're getting more radon into your house when the wind blows, or you're actually, every time it rains, it pushes more radon out. You don't know unless you correlate weather conditions with a reading. But if you are kind of like on the fence, like, this is important. It's not really at action level, but I want to ensure that my family stays safe, that my pets stay safe, that, I'm in a working environment that I can feel safe to breathe the air in. Yeah. You can get a long-term test or a long-term monitor that is showing you for an extended period of time what the radon levels are so that you know what to do about it.
So now we got our testing. Doesn't matter the foundation, we're going to test it. And now we get our results back. And now we have our results, and they're high. What's mitigation look like?
Mitigation is affordable, effective, simple. If you're dealing with real estate, it's never something that should make or break a real estate transaction. If you're working with someone that becomes an alarmist on it, then maybe redirect who you're working with, because it is a simple fix. That's what's so beautiful about it. Yeah. Like, you can have extreme elevation and be able to fix it. So a mitigation company is going to come in, and really I redirect individuals that are working or that do both testing and mitigation, just because it's a little bit of a conflict of interest. There's several states that don't even allow it. So the fact that Virginia does is is just part of it, but I really recommend whether you use me or someone else to make sure you have an independent party test. But mitigation looks like they are going to go to that lowest level, and they're going to try and find the best pocket of airflow where radon is going to be pushed into your breathing space. Okay. And it put in a fan system with PVC piping and blow that radon out of your house before it really even gets into it.
Yeah.
So that's what's beautiful, is that it's going to just bypass your home. And we see radon mitigation systems all the time, but people don't recognize it because it looks like a gutter downspout.
It does.
You can even paint the exterior of the mitigation system to the same color as your siding or what have you, to where it blends naturally. So, you come in, you get that done. They make sure the seal is correct and the fan is working, and that there's regulations. You can't have it pointed at 6 inches above your roof line at your neighbor. That's really not nice. It's not kind. Even if you don't like them, we don't recommend it. But it needs to be a certain amount of inches above the roof line. There's a lot of different things, and it's so incredibly effective. Yeah, we have seen it go like in the upper 30s. Down to 1.4, so it's something that you want to test afterwards. But even more importantly, once you get that mitigation system in, you have to continue to test every 2 years. There's a valve on the exterior of a mitigation system that shows has some liquid in it. And if the liquid is uneven, that means your fan is on. And if it's even, it means your fan isn't working. Right. So that's not the only thing that you need to be looking at on if the radon is being removed from your breathing space, because all that valve shows you is that the fan is on. Right. It doesn't show you if it's actually removing it. And if you had levels of radon, genuine enough to need a mitigation system, you're going to want to ensure that it's working. Yeah. So a radon measurement specialist can come in, do an inspection of the system, as well as retest every 2 years and let you know if it kind of needs to be serviced. You don't necessarily service a radon mitigation system. You basically have to replace pieces, which you can do. Servicing a system is common vocabulary, so it's what we use, but it's not like you're going to open up a fan and replace the part. We're really going to be replacing the fan itself instead of pieces.
Sweet.
You're glazing over. It's totally fine.
So that's a lot about radon, a lot more than I knew about radon. And like I said, the biggest questions I get is about placement of monitors and of course foundation levels and things like that. Because there's some houses that require more than one monitor and whatnot, based off square footage and changes in elevation.
And if there was like a little list of things like that, then I probably wouldn't have a job,
Right,
but there's so much more to it than, is this the lowest level what's the square footage? Because I would love to be able just to say, yeah, sure, put it wherever you want. Oh, is that where you want me to put it? Sure, no problem, which I kind of get sometimes. There is a plethora of variables that you have to consider. Right. Feet away from the walls as far as returns for HVAC system. Just square footage is definitely one, but you may need 2 monitors, continuous radon monitors on a small house. Something that's under 1,500 square feet. You could still need 2 monitors just depending on the foundation and other variables.
That's what I tell all the clients that call us wanting to get the radon added. I'm always like, we'll do 1 monitor, but not until the radon specialist gets out there and says what you need. But for right now, we'll just do 1.
I love that. Thank you. Because that way people aren't surprised if we get on property and we say, because we do care about you, we want to make sure you're getting an accurate test. And so we may have to leave an additional monitor, so they're not surprised.
Yeah, I always warn them about that because I don't know. It's more of the fact that I don't know what the requirements are for the second one. So I'm just like, you might get a second one. Who knows?
Right. I mean, Sid called me this weekend and was like, hey, we're doing this and here's the property. Can you tell me if it's going to be 1 or 2? And I looked at it and I was like, I can't tell you. I would love to tell you. I'm looking at it, possibly 1, but we may really need to put 2 in there, and I need to be on site to tell you honestly.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So shifting gears real quick, unless Courtney has more questions about Radon.
No, I have gotten questions about the steps to remediation for it, and I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah, just call April.
That's what I told people. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, it was that agent that I texted you and was like, hey, you might be getting a call. He's the one who asked me about the remediation for it. And I was like, I have no idea. Like, I can tell you what it is, kinda.
Right.
But that is it. That's all you're getting out of me.
And those are my favorite phone calls. We don't do remediation.
Right.
I think, I really was thinking about this the other day. I think 50% of our calls are actually about radon remediation rather than the testing. And that's great with me because that means it's raising awareness. And if you you look at our website, it says testing, education, and support. We do not do the mitigation, but I will absolutely connect you with a resource that, as we were talking about how important referrals were earlier, that I have seen their work. I promote it because it's good and have no affiliation with.
Right.
So I'm happy to spend that amount of time talking to individuals that just don't know, because guess what they're going to do the next time that topic comes up is they're going to share that information, and that's how the awareness grows. If you just spend 5 extra minutes talking to somebody about it, it's, it can save lives.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
the whole bottom line.
Yep. So what was the hardest part when you decided to go off on your own?
Worried that the business wouldn't continue to come, because that's it. You're your own fallback. And if it's not there, but fortunately, everybody has kept breathing air since I went off on my own.
Yeah.
And so it's been coming.
It's good. I mean, I sensed some desperation when I met you.
You did not. Absolutely. He's lying. I think you sensed friendliness, education,
Sure.
knowledge, so many other things. Yeah.
Don't worry. I felt that.
Yes. She's like, she's my favorite at 360. I just want to say. Sorry.
Thank you.
I mean, that's fair.
I'm the best in the company. What can I say?
What's been the hardest part about starting a business?
I think realizing at the end of the day, no one else is going to finish what you started except for you.
Right.
And, so sometimes I might not be in the field from 8 to 11 a.m. And so, but I guarantee you at 9 p.m., if there is a report that's being done, then I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
I think you've probably gotten reports close to midnight from me, but just because I'm trying to get it out.
Yeah.
So I think that was pretty difficult. And then establishing inventory. Inventory is hard when you're starting from the ground level,
right?
Because you want quality, and to ensure that you need to buy the best. And unfortunately, sometimes to make money, it costs money.
Yeah.
And when you want to be in business on your own, you don't necessarily want to bring in certain kind of help sometimes, because you want to be able to be the only and final say. Sure. And that comes at a price to pay, whether it is late nights or working, harder, but if you enjoy what you're doing, and I know people say this all the time, if you enjoy what you're doing, then you don't work. I'm still working when it's 11 o'clock at night and I'm doing a report, but I also feel passion and a reason behind it. And I do feel like I'm getting to help someone.
I'm glad you feel that way at 11 o'clock at night because I'm not feeling passion and excitement at 11 o'clock at night.
It doesn't mean that you're my favorite person if I'm having to send it to
I'm
you.
On LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn looking for job openings at 11 o'clock at night. That's because my passion's gone.
Right. Well, if you need a job, come to me. I can hook you up.
I can't get through the 5th grade science part of the class, so I don't think I'd be of any use for you. But
there's so much. It's so much fun.
I can do some marketing, Yeah.
Do I want you to market though?
I'm better than the person I got, so.
Oh no! I'm gonna disagree on that one.
Thank you. See, April's got my back.
I do.
That's only because you're going to her networking meeting, so.
She is, but because she's a valuable asset as a guest to the networking meeting. Right. She is bringing, something of value to me.
See.
What, cookies?
We also have phone calls, so.
We do. We speak.
Mm-hmm. We talk.
Freely.
Moving on. What was one of the things you that was unexpected or you wasn't prepared for when you were starting?
Negative retaliation on kindness.
We were just talking about
kindness.
this.
Yes. Some people do not. They want to kill kindness.
Yes, and I will not let that happen.
Yes, they do. Something about being in real estate and kindness, they just want to crush it.
But it's not going to happen, right?
That's
right.
Right.
We're going to be persistent with our smiles and with our communication. And but there's
and
some
alcohol consumption.
I thought with keto we talked about this earlier.
Whiskey is carb free.
Oh, but it's dark.
What's that got to do with anything?
I don't know.
Malibu
light in your. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, there's been some issues like in I've been there with you on that on some individuals that didn't necessarily want kindness and some of us aren't in it just for the money. Yes, we have this job. We have a job to pay bills. That's why we all work. That's not foreign to anyone. But some of us have the job that we have because it's something we care about. Right. At the end of the day, if it's something I feel like I would need to know or want to know, then I'm going to share that or offer it. And sometimes that means I have to spend extra time or I have to go back or, there's any kind of, sometimes you're going to have an error on a report. If you have an error on a report, then I'm going to say, there's an error on the report. I'm going to go back and I'm going to do this right. Or there was interesting, atmospheric conditions. And I would love to make sure that this radon measurement is not only about the atmospheric conditions. So I'd be more than happy to go back. Now, if you're dealing with a real estate transaction, you could get pushback from that saying, why? Why do you want to do that? You're making life harder for me. But it's not about your real estate transaction. It's about the person going to live in the house. And are they receiving the best information possible?
Who would have thought that offering a free service would have made just people upset? But it does.
I mean, it's like the whole thing with the free hot chocolate bar. The amount of, I called so many different agencies asking if they wanted, a free hot chocolate bar at one of their meetings or events or something. And, one of the ones that's local to us was why? Why are you doing this?
Right. They don't understand kindness. They're like, what's in it for you? Yeah. Why are you being kind? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. And same
this
with
is suspicious. Are you smiling? It's not nice. Yeah. I don't like it.
It's so weird. It's the same thing that happened with the spotlight videos that we're trying to do in the New Kent area. I've called multiple different businesses there, and one of the ones that we just did was with Shaggy Paws, and they were like why are you doing this? They were
because I can and want to.
Word for word, they were like, why? That was it.
And it's we're choosing businesses for that because really for Courtney, because if it was up to me and I would just say, hey, we're just gonna call Brian from C3 or Jeff from Pest Now or you and just but she doesn't want to deal with, she doesn't care about what an HVAC looks like, so try to do something a little bit different, a little bit fun.
That's great. And local,
more involved in the community.
Yes, exactly. Promoting local small businesses.
Yeah, and there's a company that I go to a lot, to get, donuts and things like that. And, super popular. And I couldn't even get a response from them. Oh,
wow.
Like I don't even care if you don't want to do it, but at least, appreciate the offer. No thanks. No, nothing. Just silence on Facebook, on email. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, go kick rocks. So,
right.
I'll go to the other donut store.
Like, I get it. People think that it's a scam because it's like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
It's a scam. And that's what everybody that I've complained to about this. Like, we're trying to do something nice.
Yeah.
Why are they? And it's
take my niceness.
Yeah.
For the record, I wasn't asked if I wanted free hot chocolate. I just want to bring that up and just throw it out there. But I would have accepted your free hot chocolate. So I just want to throw that out there.
I think one of the issues, going back to what you were saying, they're afraid that, it's going to make the deal harder, right? And like we talked about, and this is nothing against, agents as a whole. I think this is just a culture or the perception that has been ingrained. And you go into an office and it's, let's call our vendors. Well, we're not vendors.
No.
For agents, right? A vendor is somebody that's selling a product through you. I'm not Coca-Cola putting my product on the shelf at Kroger.
Right.
I could be an extension of your business, but I'm not a vendor for you.
We can collaborate together.
Yeah.
I'm big on collaboration.
So when your client contacts me, you don't get anything from me. So I'm not your vendor. So at that point, the client signs an agreement with me. They are now my client as well.
Right.
And I think that gets lost sometimes just through, most of the time it's just semantics, vendor, whatever. It's just ingrained,
right.
No harm, no foul. It's just what
it's
we
just
say.
the word that's used. Right.
But for some people, they think you can't talk to my client. Well, actually, I can because they're my client too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm calling you as a courtesy,
Correct.
and whether that's lenders, whether that's title, whether that's you, whether that's us. Once we have an agreement in place, they're our client now. And I think that gets lost sometimes. And some agents, not all, and it's a very small percentage of agents, obviously, they get very possessive at that point. Where you shouldn't be contacting my client. Well, actually, they're my client because I have an agreement. I'm keeping you in the loop because you're part of this transaction, but I really don't have to.
Right.
And if you're gonna be ugly about it, I just won't.
Right. And absolutely. And sometimes I feel like, when you come across real estate agents that have that demeanor, it is a result of either being undereducated in what a home inspection or radon test is about, or because they've been burned somewhere along the line. And so we have the privilege of re-educating and reintroducing the benefits of keeping that conversation and education flowing.
Yeah, and I think you're right is with the getting burned part, because maybe they had an inspector contact their client and completely just blow things up and never gave them a heads up, never included them, and maybe not even been accurate, so there's some damage there on trust and whatnot, and because they just wasn't kept in the loop, so there's some residual feelings there that you got to overcome. Fortunately for us, you go through our database and all the repeat agents and agents that's been with us I'll say for at least 5 deals, because I feel like 5 to 10 deals is a good indicator of, are you going to keep using us or not, right? Because we can go through 2 or 3 deals, everything goes smoothly, I really like you, and I've noticed this as well, especially with newer agents. We get that 4th or 5th deal that's a train wreck, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, I'm going to find somebody else, whatever, because they think that it's our fault. But once you hit 5 and you're still calling us, that's a pretty good indicator. We got a good relationship, and fortunately, all of those agents that stick around, they're pretty much the ones that they know, right? They're not possessive. They're they know, and they know if I call their client or their client calls me, I'm gonna let them know. Okay, this is what we talked about. This is what I told them. Just so you have an understanding in case they call you. But like I said, I think a lot of times you do get that, you know.
I think also, and you do this as well, but the being a realist and not an alarmist.
Yeah.
That is what's key. It's like, you know, you're not there to try and scare anybody away from anything. You're there to represent the facts. And it doesn't have to be as in like running out of a burning building, you know, delivery. It can be this is what's going on. If you want to fix it, you can. But this is a list of what you would want to know, what I would want to know about my home.
Yeah, and I've had, you know, clients, and I say this at every buyer seminar, you know, or we're just talking to agents, you know, we deliver the information the same way. It doesn't matter what it is. Because I've had clients where the house was literally falling down and not contractors, not flippers, not investors, like first-time home buyer kind of people. Right. And they were said, and the woman asked me, but did you see any mice?
What in the world?
And I said, no. So that's all I care about. I can handle everything else. Can't handle mice. And I've had people lose their mind because the door doesn't latch, you know? So it's not for me to determine what's important. It's just up to me to determine to give you the information, and then you determine what's important. And then sometimes the house gives me the information that you don't like.
Right.
But that's not my fault. You know, it just happens that way. So, well, 45 minutes went by quick on this one.
Look, and you didn't, I mean, you only glazed over like 1.5 times.
I saw it happening.
I saw it come in. So.
I know. I appreciate you know, you didn't pull me back in too quick, because
we're still here. We're fine.
Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. I'd like, I want to give a little bit about Virginia stuff.
Sure, go for it.
So, the RVA area, well, actually, Virginia is for lovers is our motto, right? Yes, and a lot of people
Virginia
don't.
Was founded in.
Oh, well, but Virginia is for lovers. A lot of people don't know why.
Okay.
And it's because of all the things that Virginia has to offer, right?
Sure.
Virginia has to offer the mountains, the beach, kayaking, you know, hiking, all the things. And getting to explore all of those things with the people you love. So when it comes to, and here's an interesting Richmond, Virginia fact.
Okay.
There are, in the state of Virginia, there are 200 plus breweries that have come up over the past few years.
Right.
And Richmond, Virginia has 33 of those. And that's just the Richmond, Virginia area. So, you know, IPA, a lot for those, but it's worth it. But did you get that? Was my joke? IPA. Sorry, I'll raise the bar on the next one. It's fine. But speaking about different things that we love and activities, Radon is in your breathing space of everyone that you love. Not just, you know, yourself, your spouse, your child, but your pets, the elderly, the young. It affects everyone. So get it measured. That's it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I do not appreciate you and Courtney being on the same team, but we'll talk about that later.
We're buddy.
We support each other.
And I would say we get you and Jeanette on at the same time. I don't know if I can handle that. That'd have to be after hours.
You know, we have, like, we're different, so we would come at you from different angles, which would be amazing.
Okay.
We would both love that.
That's right. All right, well, till next time.
Okay, thanks.